welcome to another edition of Trap Chat. I am your host, Kirsten Greggs, and if you were here last week, you know November is all about harvest of joy, giving thanks. And today I am thankful for one of my brothers from some others, the manager of executive engagement and talent discovery at PVH Corporation. He's a DEI strategist, a gym god, a member of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. He's a connector, a leader, a friend, because this is all from his LinkedIn, by the way. The first part, but the connector, leader, friend part is from his LinkedIn. Other stuff I threw in. He is the curator of fun employment, and I have not spoken to him live for over a year. The last time he was on another live show, and it was a fun time. So I'm expecting this to be a fun time too. So please welcome Richaun Wilson from the BK.
My own round of applause.
Your own round of applause. I know that's right. Richaun, for those who don't know you, please share your career journey from music marketing assistant to manager of executive engagement.
So, hello everybody first. Blessings to everyone listening and watching. I like many, well, let me not say many of us. Let me back up. I graduated undergrad when there were no jobs in 2008. No gas, no jobs. Right when the recession hit, trying to figure out what to do. Idiotically, but also at the same time, all on purpose. I was working as an intern with Baker & Taylor, which was a B2B distributor for magazines, working with Sony BMG, some of the bigger music record labels to get their artists out into B2B catalogs to sell their CDs. How old I am, sell these CDs. And I love the job. It just hit me in a place where I graduated. It was part-time. I wanted something full-time, trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life. That place where most graduates are at, like I majored in something. I know I need to do something. I have purpose. What is it? I decided to quit my job and a part-time job during a recession and took a chance just to move out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And I chose either Nashville or Atlanta because at the time, most careers, at least jobs in the South, were being presented there. Took a risk and moved to Atlanta with $800 in my pocket and a prayer, and ended up working in sales and marketing, and I hated it. Absolutely hated it. I hated it with a passion. But it paid the bills. And in doing so, I was that whole purpose piece was still in the back of my head. And I have a fond, and I won't say fond, I have a passion and purpose behind theology and race, ethnicity, and ethics, and how they all play a part, how culture and ethics play a part in religion and ideologies that are formed and shaped from religion. So I decided to go to seminary and study theology with concentration in ethics during the time when I was still working in sales, quit that job, and just realized that this was one of the areas I needed to be in. And it's 3 years of school in the AUC. Shout out to all the great HBCUs, ITC, Morehouse School of Religion. Also shout out to Clark. Shout out to all the schools there. Not just my heart. But in doing so, I became a recruiter at the grad school that I was in, and recruiting other students for grad programs. And in doing so, found that I love recruitment. Did it for 2 years, and Havas Media reached out to me and took a chance on a little black boy, because that's what it was. Took a chance on someone who had never done corporate recruiting and brought me in as a recruiting manager, and eventually was elevated to a recruiting manager and internship development manager.
Okay.
And found my passion there. And from there, it was like, okay, now I could mix my passion behind ethics and the love of, for my context, the love of God's people, which are all people to me, love of people, love of purpose, and finding a way to help others find purpose. And I did so within recruitment and HR, and found that there's a good mix on the corporate side to make money, as well as provide some type of hope, joy, or purpose into other people.
Mhm.
And did it for 2 years. And then I realized in doing so, everybody that I was recruiting, not a lot of people looked like me. Or a lot of the people that I was hiring, a lot of them did not look like me.
Mhm.
And as I was thinking about, before diversity was a buzzword, I was thinking about how I identified and how I was providing jobs for families, I realized I had a greater purpose to provide it for people who were being overlooked. And in that same time frame, I found a job at Salesforce, took 3 steps back from a title perspective. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. But it worked out. And during that process at Salesforce, going from a recruiting manager to a recruiting coordinator, it gave me the opportunity to take some steps back and figure out, how do I incorporate what I know and what I think as a person of color to my job? At the same time, Office of Equality was being built. Tony Profit, who was the new chief equality officer, came in. Him and I met. We had great conversations. And listening to him and seeing what he thought, knowing what my heart was saying, I found a good mix of what diversity recruiting should be from a sourcing perspective, from an engagement perspective. And since then, I've been the architecture of my career, which I can say, and I know a lot of people cannot say that, specifically people of color, that they made specific moves to get to where they are.
Yeah.
I made a specific move after Salesforce to get into executive recruiting at Meta. I did it for a year and a half and made another strategic move to go into full cycle at Salesforce. Something happened there where I chose to leave, and it worked out where LinkedIn provided me with the ability to create my role and continue to create different roles that affected the population that was being overlooked. And I was able to place many people of color, women, in roles that I won't say the individuals hadn't done intentionally before, but it when you are that person who feels overlooked, there's a lot more push and passion behind the work that you do. And it sometimes it can elevate it even more, because you're using data, but you're using real life experience to kind of persuade and show people the why behind what we do. And since then, I made a move to fashion, and I'm trying to disrupt the fashion world now. So
I know that's right. Speaking of, I know we were on Twitter, but I had asked you one time for a cardigan. I don't know if you remember.
I'm gonna bring it this weekend. Watch.
Okay. I'm just teasing you. Okay, so you mentioned LinkedIn, so I'm gonna skip ahead to that question. And some people may not know this, but you did initiate LinkedIn's Cultural Insider Program, yes, as well as the Executive Cultural Insider Program. Can you share the vision behind these initiatives and how they've contributed to fostering a more inclusive and supportive culture at LinkedIn? I know you're not there anymore, but
I like that question. No,
still lasts. Yeah.
No. For everyone listening, impact and legacy is everything. I know that I left, I believe, a great impact on LinkedIn, and some of the programs that I built and some of the programs that I helped own that were already built there, they're still running. Culture Insider, I wish I could take credit for coming up with the idea, but I tweaked the idea. When I was at Meta, or Facebook at the time, when I was at Meta, they had a program there that I was a part of, a few programs there. And it gave an opportunity for individuals either of color or who identified as LGBTQIA, or who identified as a group that we saw from a data perspective as underrepresented internally. And it gave you a chance as you're interviewing before on-site interviews to speak to someone either who went to the same school as you through this program, someone who identifies similarly, and you had a bunch of pictures and profiles, and you could choose who you wanted to speak to. And I was a participant in the program, and I'm going to shout her name out, Erin, because she went to Clark. We had so many things in common, but we had never met. And I helped her through the interview process, and it wasn't even in the area that I recruited for, but it allowed her to get a perspective of what the culture felt like from someone who went to a school that she was at, that we had in common. Also, there's an ethnicity piece that we had in common, and there were connections that we had in common through LinkedIn. So it allowed her to be a lot more comfortable in having a conversation to say, what is it like? What do I need to do? And a lot of times in the recruitment process, women and people of color don't have that opportunity to have an unbiased conversation with someone to get an idea of what's it like to be that person there. Mm-hmm. And I saw value in that. And when I left, it stuck with me. When I came to LinkedIn, my role was a diversity sourcer, but there were programs that I could implement. And I think probably my second week, I spoke with the now head of talent at LinkedIn, Erin, and I said, hey, these are some things that have worked well at other companies. This is something I think could do well here. And she connected me with some of the program managers, Katie, and I worked with her and Jenna, and I said, this is the program. I kind of gave them all of the specs on how to build it, what to do, and sporadically would have meetings to tweak it with them. And it's now a program that's continuously running, that has brought different people in, people of color and women who they honestly, the skills are there. It's, do you want to feel, would you feel comfortable here? And I think from a talent branding perspective, it shows the emphasis that a company has on the people that they have yet to place. And a lot of times in HR and talent, we have to play a liaison between the candidate and the company. Sometimes we lead more on the company side, but this program allows the candidate to take control over their career and say, hey, this might be a good role for me, but I've had conversations and I don't think now this is the right cultural move, or I don't think I'll be a culture add to this organization. And the Culture Insider program allowed employees at LinkedIn under ERGs and their employee resource groups to have authentic conversations with people who had similarities as them. So you can talk about the hardships and the great things at a company, because no company is perfect. And I don't believe we should lead with all the good, but we should lead with the opportunities, because people sometimes come to companies for the opportunities. And also, if you're upfront about those opportunities, it allows a person to make a better informed decision on if this is my place and how long will I stay there.
That's important.
Yes, the retention is a good piece, specifically with people that look like us.
Specifically.
And women.
Yes. Well, when you said us, I just assumed I identify as a woman. I told somebody the other day that I was millennial. I was a millennial identifying Gen Xer. And
all of them, you hear me?
Because this person was like, I've known them since middle school, and they kept telling people my age, like,
don't do that.
Like we're elder. I was like, elder? Like, if you, I'm just older.
Slightly.
older. Calm down. So let's get back on track. I'm sorry. You have had great success across all levels. And I want to speak specifically to the C-suite level, because even when we have these dynamic programs that bring folks in, a lot of times that C-suite level is lacking for lack, it's lacking. It's lacking. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's lacking.
No, there's no need to. It's lacking.
What unique challenges and opportunities do you encounter when you're working to increase representation at the executive level? And then how do you navigate them?
I'm still trying to navigate them. Okay. The thing that I think first you have to have, I'll say this. I believe you need to have, I won't say you have to, I believe you need to have a diverse HR and recruiting team first. if you don't have that, nothing else will actually matter, in my opinion. You can have a great IND team or a diversity organization, but the people that are actually the gatekeepers and the influencers and the consultants of the hiring leaders, if you do not have a diverse team, you cannot preach that you need a diverse organization. Like, it starts there first. So number one, if all of your recruiters look alike, you're not really about to make any change because you're not serious about it, in my opinion. That's just it. So after that, it's an educational piece. Recruiters or HR leaders in this space of executive, in the executive talent space, there's patience that has to happen, and there's a level of consultation and education. Because a lot of times I've done this before, I know the key players, I'm going to bring people in, especially when you have new CEOs or new C-suite or VP leaders. You're automatically going to bring people or try to bring people from your previous work that you're comfortable working with. However, if everyone at the top all look the same, you're going to continuously bring people from. So the education piece has to be there from recruiters and HR to explain the why you should not always bring in the same type of people from a thought perspective. I always lead from a group thinking perspective and not necessarily it's the right thing to do because of an ethnic group or racial group that is underrepresented. But I always try to position it from ideas and thoughts. If you have people that come from the same areas, you're not going to be innovative anyway. If you're bringing people from the same companies, you're really replicating the company that you're trying to bring over. And if you really want to get ahead and innovate and be a better company, you have to bring people from different industries, different companies, different walks of life, so that you have not a linear way of thinking from a business perspective. So the education piece has to be there just from a revenue, money, business strategy perspective, because I believe that's what they will lean into more. So this is the right thing to do.
Absolutely.
Once they understand that, then you can bring in the education piece on, or why these individuals from this industry, or why this individual from this school, or why this individual in general, and make sure that you're presenting people that are so diverse, and watch and pay attention to how hiring teams or managers respond. And from that's where you can evaluate if there are any biases or anything like that. And you can call it out or find a plan with HR or L&D to educate even more these leaders on how to change their behavior. Okay. The other piece, and interrupt me at any time too now.
I'm learning. I'm listening and learning.
The other piece that is important, I believe, outside of the education, outside of the work you do, is making sure once you find the talent and you're presenting them, and the diverse talent, try to over-index on the diverse group. So call it what it is. If your organization is 90% Caucasian males who run the company, then I always say then at least 2/3 of your pipeline should be diverse, meaning women and people of color, or however you define it. At least, at minimum, 2/3, and that's not 2/3 of just random profiles. 2/3 of people that can actually do the job. Yes. Don't pull us just because we look like this. Pull us because our skills, the resume, that's all there. And there's an added plus that we happen to be from an underrepresented group, according to your.
All they want is a lot of companies are still doing this. I just want a diverse slate. They just want to have a diverse slate, and they've already made up in their mind who they're going to hire.
That's something else that we know you kind of know how I roll already. Yeah. I'm a blunt, straight shooter in a nice way, I think sometimes. I tell leaders automatically when in the past when they say, yes, this is the candidate, but we're not going to do that. Let's not pull people because they're women or people of color. Yeah. if this is your person, it's going to do them a disservice, and it's going to be bad branding, because we know when we're being brought in just for data. Like it's a God, the universe, ancestors. I don't know. It's a feeling we know.
Mhm.
I don't think I always look at it again. The theology and ethics background they're tapping me on the shoulder. Ethically and morally, for me, I don't believe it's right to string people along because this is their job and their livelihood. If you have no
Yes.
intentions on providing something for them, let them go.
Let them
Let
go.
them go.
Yes.
Let them go. We have to be we should be ethical in our recruitment, talent, and human being strategies. I won't say HR strategies, our human being strategies.
Mm.
If you don't do that, you're performing piss poor as a company, not revenue wise, but just ethically, morally, and branding wise. And people talk. So it's not like
Mhm.
these leaders who we play with, they're gonna go back and talk to their network who look like them and say, that was not a good experience.
Yep. Absolutely. So let's move to the next question. You also serve as an advisory board member at Thrive DX, which focuses on addressing the global skill gap in cybersecurity and digital skills. What are some of the most pressing challenges companies face today in closing this gap, and how does Thrive DX's approach address these issues?
Okay, that's a good question. Shout out
Thank
to
you.
Thrive DX,
Shout out.
and Lan, who connected me with Thrive DX a long time ago. Community of Seven. I'm gonna throw that in there. I'll type it out. Community of Seven is a great organization. Look them up on LinkedIn. Um, Thrive DX. Thrive DX. Actually, let me back up. Cybersecurity and technology in general, but cybersecurity specifically. There are opportunities that we still don't know about as people of color and women. And I'm going to focus on those who don't have access to the tools and the education and knowing what they can do within cybersecurity and technology in general. There are roles where you don't necessarily need a degree to be successful, and there are ways of learning code or learning analytics or data or security or infrastructure or architecture within technology that is available, but we don't know about it. ThriveDX has done a great job as a mix of what we provide in an enterprise space for companies. And then, all right, so on the human being aspect, we know that there's an issue or there's a problem. I think it's a systemic problem, but a problem with the lack of education and resources for people to understand technology and security. Buzzwords with AI and automation from an engineering, software engineering, machine learning perspectives. Not everyone, those are things that people know well. But when it comes to cybersecurity, I think there's a lack of information for us, people of color, to know exactly how to get into it and how to do it. ThriveDX has done a great job with providing opportunities for people in underrepresented groups to learn about cybersecurity and not necessarily going to your Harvards or your top tier schools to find people, but looking at your community colleges and looking at areas where there are more of us, to give them opportunities to learn more and eventually have a financial gain within technology to get them to the place that they want to be holistically in life, as well as pay it back to other people who look like them or come from their communities to say, hey, there are things within technology that we don't know that we could thrive in.
Mhm.
I will say, growing up, I knew nothing about cybersecurity. I knew nothing about technology, although I'm
Okay.
aware of age and it's a little different. But even as growing up in the the World Wide Web era, the internet era, the .com era, there was never a push from our parents or our peers to learn about technology. So it feels good
No.
to be a part of an organization where I'm advising from a talent HR perspective, and from technology background companies on how do we provide more for people with education, with the tools for them to learn, and continuously do it. So it's ThriveDX is doing a great job. I'm hoping that they set even more of a precedence in their markets for people to continue to do that, and not necessarily the big name companies, but some of these larger and mid-sized companies, these mid-market companies who are profitable, who can do more as far as in providing people. And it's a good pipeline builder too.
It
for
is.
Your own company.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that. And as he said, everybody check out ThriveDX, and we'll, at the end of the show, let you give the other shout outs and where to find everything and to find you as well. So thinking about the theme, Harvest of Joy, giving thanks, giving or gratitude inspires people to give back. So how have you expressed hey, how have you expressed gratitude to your professional network? And in what ways have these acts of appreciation strengthened your relationships and contributed to positive outcomes in your career?
That is a complex answer.
It's a complex question, as most of mine are. There's like 14 questions in one.
How do I show gratitude first?
Yes.
I think I can do a better job. Let me be conscious of that. I'm always harsh on myself. I think I can do a better job of showing gratitude for a lot of people who have helped me out and who are consistently pushing me to be where I am. But what I do, there are two ways I think I do it well. The first way is I pay it forward with other people. I see the gifts that have been given to me from other people through their words, through their encouragement, through their network, through this job I have here. Pause. It clearly been having a conversation. This job I have here is the first job I've applied to since 2013. I've gotten all of my roles from networking and from people saying, "Hey, this guy's pretty decent. You should look at him." So it says a lot about the people that I am intentionally harvesting relationships with.
Okay.
So I pay it back by doing the same thing for other people, or doing my best to do that for other people. The other way I think I can do better, but I do is, actually, I'm gonna give you two answers. I'm calling them friend dates. I am being intentional on carving out twice a month to have dinner or brunch or coffee with someone who is affecting my life. And not in a way of me wanting something, because a lot of times we reach out to people when we want something. Yeah. But it's really just to show a consistent value that I appreciate you as a person and not your provisions. So I'm doing that now. And for those who are remote or who are not in New York or DC or Atlanta, where I travel most, I'm going to start doing it virtually too. And again, not that I want something. It's just, it feels good to show people and give them their flowers in real time, and not in front of everyone where it's a show, but just to say, I really just appreciate you as a human being. Yeah. The other way that I feel I can do better is in my role, or in my roles in general, it's all about service for others. What Lan has done with Community of 7, and when I look at my network, there are opportunities for me to share more with people who need it, not who want it, who want access to my network or want access to people, but those who want and need it. Those who I see who have been working extremely hard and pushing themselves, those who have written their goals, or those that are still trying to figure it out. I think there's an opportunity for me meeting all of these people of color and women who lead great organizations. As I build relationships, authentic relationships with them, I think there's an opportunity for me to pay it back and show gratitude to all of these other individuals who are not there yet, to make introductions. I think that is my way of showing gratitude, not so much of thanking people, but continuing to build a legacy and make impact, specifically with people that look like me.
And I think you do a great job of it.
I'm trying. Listen.
You didn't know me from a can of paint. Like you didn't know me from a can of paint. And imagine somebody just sending you a message on LinkedIn.
Maybe I'm too hard on myself, but
you're like, hey, can you come on this show called Winds, Woes, and Wine? That's going to be streamed on the platform that you just separated from.
That had employed me, and yeah.
And you're like, okay, you're bold enough to ask. I'm bold enough to come. Yeah, no, like you definitely get back, and you're here again. So I appreciate you.
We're stuck like
yeah, I said you're my brother from some others, and from our first conversation, it was set. I was like, oh no, he's stuck with me. Oh my goodness, I kicked myself out of my own live stream, but it's okay. God bless me. The devil is a liar. What's that song? The devil is a liar. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get to the rapid fire questions.
You're hilarious. I love this.
I'm not about to listen. No, you can't steal my joy, baby. You can't steal my.
Now. Don't have me shouting here.
Remember my tambourine. Don't give me no bad news. No bad news. Okay. So, who is a well-known or lesser-known historical or contemporary figure who inspires you and we should learn more about?
A lie? Oh, you said contemporary.
Well, they could be historical or contemporary.
Howard Thurman.
Okay.
I'm gonna do two.
Okay.
Howard Thurman and actually just one. Howard Thurman. Howard Thurman is a theologian who I respect so much. Mm-hmm. He strips away the idea of religion and concentrates on people.
Okay.
And in seminary, one of the first books we read from him, or I read from him, it discusses the ashtray level, and it talks about how there's a woman who smokes cigarettes nonstop, and no one's paying attention. Well, I'm going to summarize it quickly. Basically, no one's paying attention to this woman, and no one's speaking to her. She's not speaking. How do you build a relationship with someone who sometimes seems like they don't want a relationship with you, or that they're in their own space? And he realized, okay, we have to find a commonality. So he had an ashtray, and he would bring an ashtray for her. And it created a connection where she's like, oh, you see me.
Wow.
And it reminded, and his theology is this is just a small portion, but it allowed me to see religion, theology, ideologies from different perspectives, and how do we connect with people from different cultures, from different areas of the world, or even in the US? How do we connect with people who have different walks of life than us? And it's always at the ashtray level for me. Like, how do I find a common ground with someone, and not so much trying to bring them to where I'm at so they can understand me, but how can I understand them if I'm approaching them? And I think it's a reminder for people to learn how to let people be themselves, and how to meet people where they are versus trying to bring them to where you want them to be. We do a bad job. Human beings do a bad job of telling other people how to run their lives instead of trying to understand why they're living their lives the way they are. Why is it that you do the things you do? Help me to understand you versus allow me to change you. And it's at that ashtray level where we can meet people where they are.
I like that.
So that's mine.
Howard Thurman, the
Howard Thurman.
ashtray level. Yes. What fictional character gives you a glimpse of yourself?
A fictional character that gives me a glimpse of myself. This is going to be so Black. Kyle Barker from Living Single.
Oh, are you serious?
TC Carson as a person in general.
Do you sing also?
Huh?
Do you sing?
I don't think I'm that good.
Okay. Well, because he sings. That's why I was asking.
But I'm into music. I can play drums. I'm a DJ too, so I'm musically inclined. I understand notes.
Got you.
But Kyle Barker, the character.
Nice.
There are so many dimensions to him as a Black man.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at what he accomplished as a Black man in the 90s, Black man in the 90s in New York, he was super, super successful and driven, but he was grounded with his friends. So he had
his faith.
And you. Yes. I love the aspect of Living Single in general, but for him as a businessman in New York, who understood faith, who understood relationships holistically, not just romantic relationships, but he saw the relationships with his brother, Overton. He saw relationships with his sisters, his friends, and it showed the power of a human being. But for context of me, it showed the power of a powerful Black man in a corporate setting who could still be just himself and grounded and have all these makings of who he is before we knew what intersectionality looked like. He was displaying it for us. And I didn't realize it. And that character it exudes who I didn't know at the time who I wanted to be as a Black man.
Yeah. I think Yvette Lee Bowser has given us a number of characters that we can relate to. And I appreciate that. And I think it's funny. I laughed initially, not because I thought it was silly, but because I have a very good friend who is a pastor who used to be on Wall Street. And I always call him Kyle Barker. He's from Brooklyn. So I'm like, Kyle Barker. I was like, you are Kyle Barker. Like, even talks like everything, measured, all of it. So when you said that, I was like, oh, you know what? I never got a lot in common. That's probably why I was, drawn to you in the first place, because you reminded me of him and of Kyle Barker. Okay.
Kyle.
I'm going to try and say this word. What is your favorite empowering quote?
So I always say, don't get tired. Don't get weary in the work you're doing.
Okay.
Never get weary of or in the work you're doing. If you're doing good, don't get weary. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to get tired. But if you're working in purpose, if you are truly working in purpose, there is going to be something that is going to energize you or reinvigorate you when you feel drained. So you can get tired in the work. Let me correct myself. You can get weary in the work, but you cannot get weary of the work.
Get weary in the work, but not weary
in the work, but you cannot get weary
work.
of the work.
Ooh, okay.
We get tired.
Yes.
The work we do is, in this era,
exhausting.
It's so exhausting. It's so frustrating to try and get people to do what's right.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are truly working to make an impact and change the way the world is in a positive manner, get tired, get frustrated, get angry. Don't get tired and weary of the work that you're doing. There's a purpose, and there's a greater purpose outside of you that's going to affect more people. And we need that. Okay. And if we get tired, who's going to do it? Because then the people behind us are going to look at us getting tired. And we're setting the example. And that's going to allow other people to take over the work and change it, and not for the good. So.
Oh, I like that. Don't get weary of the work. I'm going to add that to my lexicon. Okay. If you could spend the day shadowing someone in a different profession, who would it be and what would you hope to learn from them?
In a different profession. Actually, let me make it real time of what's happening here at PVH and Tommy Hilfiger and Calvin Klein.
Okay.
I find the individuals in different industries who lead social media influencers or influencers in general and PR talent. I find it interesting because it's a marketing strategy, but also there should be an intentional diversity component because we find they're looking for individuals to represent and brand the company. So you're looking for popularity, you're looking for individuals who have influence without a tainted image or that could make your brand less reputable. So there are a lot of components of finding that person to represent brand, whether it's in fashion or whether it's technology, just these big brand ambassadors. But I find it interesting that when we look at consumers, I don't know if the top brand influencers for companies, both in media, technology, fashion, retail, etc., I'm wondering if they really represent the population of their consumers versus the population of the world and what the world deems as beauty and influence.
Yeah.
So when your audience is 75%, 50% African American, 30% Latin American, and then the other percent just other, what does your brand influencers look like? And how do you choose who and how do you find that mix? So I would want that. I would do that in a second. I find it interesting because it's similar to talent space. You're finding talent.
Yeah.
And I see from an HR perspective the opportunities and what people can do and how they can use that role to better the company's brand and also use it as a way to get people to want to work for the company as well and not just to buy into the brand.
Okay. What's your go-to songs, or music genre when you want to hype yourself up to conquer the day?
House music by far.
Is it really?
I'm a house DJ. Heck yeah.
Okay.
Give me some soul house, EDM house.
Okay.
Not so much into deep house, Afro house, 100%. If I need to get myself going, yes. But the song, Frankie Beverly Mays, Happy Feelings, that is it. It just makes me happy.
Rest in peace.
It takes me to a different mindset where it's a utility of joy. Like I feel joyful when I hear that song.
Okay. I love it. And he's from Philly. Shout out to Philly. Shout out to Frankie Beverly. Rest in peace. Thank you for the wonderful, beautiful songs.
For real. Catalog is crazy.
Crazy. What is the best piece of career advice you've received that you would give to your early career self?
Ooh. I don't want to quote her. I think the best career advice that I could give myself that was given to me that I wish I had early on. Stop worrying. It's simple. Just stop worrying.
That's some life advice, though. Stop worrying.
It is, but like when it comes to work, I used to get nervous about sending an email. I wanted everything perfect. Wow. I had a boss say, "Stop worrying. Like it's okay. Just stop worrying. Like just it's not life. It's work." Okay, I get it. It's not that serious. That's probably the advice I would give myself early on because we do worry a lot and it's just work. It's a way that we pay our bills and live our life. But unless you're a heart surgeon or curing cancer, why are you worrying? This is not life or death. And in the grand scheme of life, there are things that are more important and pressing than your work. So don't worry.
Okay. I like that. Don't worry. if you wrote a book describing your career so far, what would the title be?
How did I get here? Literally, I asked myself, how did I get here?
And then the sequel could be How I Got Here.
Yes. But I think it's kind of cool, the journey, the life journey, career journeys that we take unintentionally.
Okay.
And I'm grateful for, sometimes I don't realize the roles that I've had in the companies that I've worked for and how great they are and how many people would love to experience the things that I've experienced. And sometimes I do take that for granted. But yeah, I look up and I say, how did someone like me get to this place? And for me, I don't even feel like I'm at this place. I feel like I'm just starting my career and there's so much more to learn and so many more places to go. And I don't know how I got here. I don't know how I got here. Like I attribute it to God, hard work, and my network and people pushing me. But the book will be, how did I get here?
Okay. And we can expect that 2025, early 2026?
To your mouth, to God's ears.
Okay. All right. Before I let you go, what are you most looking forward to as the year ends, whether it's a personal goal, project, or initiative, a professional milestone, or an exciting opportunity?
Two things. I'll do it personal and professionally.
Okay.
Three things, actually. I want to join a nonprofit board. So that is a goal that I have. It's not until next year, but that is a personal goal that I need to complete. That is an easy goal. But end of the year, outside of resting, I'm going to sound like a workaholic. I actually really do want to create a 3-year plan. Now that I'm in fashion, I want to create by the end of this year, I want to create a 3-year plan, whiteboard it, and figure out different avenues for what I want to do. And not necessarily from a career position, but from an impact position.
Okay.
I always want to position myself for impact mobility and not necessarily career mobility.
I like that.
I really like leaving a legacy behind with the companies that I work for, because I think sometimes that helps me more so than I place these people. What I did is still being implemented. What I did is, my name is still being said in these halls. And it's not for me to feel good about myself, but it's for me to feel good about my work and reassure me that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing and what God has placed me here to do and who He's placed me to be. So resting, creating a plan, and I do it in 3 ways. I really want to spend more family time. As we age, we're reversing our positions with our parents and our family. And I need to, now that I live away from most of my family, I am intentionally spending more time with my mother, my siblings, my niece and my nephews, to make sure that as I pay it back and show gratitude towards other people in my career, I'm doing the same for those who set the foundation of who I am. So yeah.
I love it.
That was a good answer, Richaun.
That was a good answer, Richaun. You didn't even give me a chance to say it. That was a good answer, Richaun. Richaun, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come on to Trap Chat and to talk about all the ways that you are harvesting joy and giving thanks.
Thank you. What you're doing is amazing. What you've been doing is amazing. No, I'm serious. I think, let me stop saying I think, I know the impact that even if you don't see it, I know the impact that you're creating. And what you're doing, you're taking it, you're not just placing this within the confinements of LinkedIn, but you're taking it to other social media platforms where we don't talk about careers, we don't talk about work, we don't talk about the advancement of individuals from underrepresented groups in the places where we have fun. And I think you're providing a good mix where we can have fun and we can be serious and we can cultivate great relationships and create more networks where we help each other out. So thank you for
Thank you
to do this.
Thank
Don't
you.
stop.
Thank you. No, I'm gonna keep going until they kick me off again. You know, they kicked me off Facebook that one time, but that's a different conversation. Anyway, tell everyone where they can find you, where they can follow you, where they can learn more about the work that you're doing, the companies that you're working for, all that good stuff.
So find me on all social media. My name at I am Richaun. I am Richaun. All social media. Make it easy. LinkedIn is my name. I'm easy to find. Add me on LinkedIn. I do my best to answer as many people as I can. So add me. Career advice. Just want to add me to your network. Do that. So follow me there. And also I mentioned her, Landfarm, early on. Community of 7 with the number 7. Follow them, follow them on LinkedIn. I think it's a beneficial organization that she's created, and it's a way of networking in an intentional way. And she's great at what she does. So that's all I have for today, I think. But follow me. I will say my Twitter. Twitter's fun. It's inspirational. Some workouts, some shirtless.
Every day you do give inspiration. I was going to say every day you give an inspirational thought. I go and like it. It's between you and another person. I think their handle is Ace Boogie, and theirs is the same every day. They always say, "Thank you, Lord, for another day."
I how I start my day personally. If I'm also, I want you all to feel the same thing. And just know it's going to be a good day regardless.
Yeah. And listen, so I don't want y'all looking at my little brother, but he stays in the gym. That's all I'm going to say. He stays in the gym.
Ready to go today.
Ready to go. Yep. All right. Thank you again. Thanks everyone for joining me. Do come back next time for another episode of Trap Chat, Harvest of Joy, Giving Thanks. We will see you in a week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.